Welcome to the Ecommerce Coffee Break podcast. Today we talk about how data powers meta ads and how that impacts your ad performance. Joining me on the show is Brad Redding, founder at Elevar.com. So let's dive right into it. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Coffee Break podcast. Today we want to talk about the power of meta ads, Facebook, Instagram, and so on, and what kind of data impacts the performance of your ad campaign. So really diving deep into the world of tracking. And with me on the show, I have Brad Redding. He's the founder of Elevar. Elevar powers server-side conversion tracking for fast-growing e-commerce brands. Brad brings 17 years of experience in e-commerce, having built analytics foundations for brands like Rothes, Rebecca Minkoff, and others. At Elevar, he focuses on automating data collection and enhancing conversion tracking for thousands of Shopify brands. So the right person to talk to, I would like to welcome to the show. Hi, Brad. How are you today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Brett, let's talk about tracking. Let's talk about how meta ads have changed over the couple of years. There were a lot of privacy changes there, talking about cookies and so on and so forth. So what kind of data actually does Meta want from you as a advertiser?
Everything you can give Meta, they want. I think the easy example is, or reference everyone knows and is probably sick of talking about at this point, is iOS 14.5 that rolled out. I don't know how many years ago. It seems like 10 years ago at this point. But there's continued headwinds that every 6 months, especially with Apple's rollout and WebKit, which is really the power behind the browsers like Safari and others, which powers for most brands more than 50% of their traffic is coming from one of these and an iPhone or a Safari browser on a MacBook or a combination. So that's why there's so much focus and intensity and clickbaity headlines out there with Apple's doing this or Safari's making this change, which reduces this ability to track and cookies and all the other lingo that goes out there with Meta. But really all that is just, it's more friction, more headwinds that brands and businesses are facing on just dropping a pixel onto their site and then just letting that pixel, whether it's Meta or others, in this case, we'll just talk Meta, grab all the information that it can from within the browser. And this is where it gets a little bit more technical and more jargony in the tech world, but things like IP addresses and your dimensions of your browser, your language settings, your geographic, where are you? Is your IP able to match to an address? Are you in an office? Are there other machines hooked up? So all of that, there's hundreds and hundreds of data points that ultimately can come together to help Meta identify and basically connect who is this user and is it the same, can they match it to that user within the Meta ad or the Meta app, to ultimately tie it back to an ad that user viewed or clicked. And then once they have that connection, then it just makes the ability to report conversions back to activity, but also allow Meta to go find other people like that person. So that's just a little macro overview on the friction that we're all facing. And there's a lot of changes that Meta has been introducing over the last few years on data collection and what data they want. So I'll pause there before getting into answering the question of what data does Meta want, and I can share some more context around that.
Yeah, I think that's a very good start. Obviously, merchants are in different points in their journey. You have starters, you have side hustlers, you want to get into e-commerce, you have small and medium enterprises, you have e-commerce managers with a good background, but all have to deal with the growth of the ad platform. And that has changed quite a bit over the years. The good old tracking cookie sort of is gone. There is now other things there. Talk me through the initial setup. I think that's where people struggle the most with to get it up and running. How does that work?
We work with mostly Shopify brands, and that, again, it seems like most of the e-com world, especially if you are just getting started, Shopify makes it super simple. But then you have the enterprise brands that are also moving over to Shopify just because your cost of ownership is so much more affordable, and with the macro factors of e-com brands need to be profitable, and it's obviously much more expensive to acquire new customers and all that goes into that. So that's where I'll answer in the context of Shopify. Facebook has a native app. It's free. You can just wire up the native Facebook app, and that's going to send the base events, so your page view event, your product view event, add to cart event, purchase event, etc., and some basic customer information, customer parameters. That's I don't know how many stores are on Shopify today, 2 million plus or so. Majority are likely using that. Then you have the world that Elevar lives in, which is a bit more sophisticated, where okay, maybe you do want to send more data to Meta. You want to customize the data that you're sending to Meta. You want to send more customer data. Maybe you have offline conversions, you have retail stores, you have wholesale locations, where you if you're just tracking the base app, which is tracking your thank you page essentially,
Mm-hmm.
all these other options like an Elevar or others, they allow you to just go a little bit deeper. Those are basically, I mean, there's a myriad of options. Elevar is not the only player. We have plenty of competition, but it's those two. And then you have, if you go outside of Shopify and you are either a WooCommerce or a Salesforce Commerce Cloud, or I'll stay away from Adobe because they're kind of like their own Shopify world. But in the world of custom, like a custom ecom platform, a lot of times we'll see people that'll homegrown and build their own through Google Tag Manager server-side container, which we lived in that world for years. We still live in the world of GTM web container, but GTM server-side container is another very widely used, widely adopted tool to send data server-side to Facebook and do some of that manipulation of customer data or custom conversions that I mentioned as well.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned before that conversions are getting more and more expensive, and obviously you can sort of steer against that with better tracking data, with better data overall. What kind of data and what kind of KPIs do you need to look at to influence your conversions or your campaigns in a positive way?
Yeah, I'll use a few examples just to give specifics versus broad strokes.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'll set the stage before giving an example of a coffee brand. Back in the day, if you were advertising in Meta, this is how I used to do it as well. You would go and create your audiences, and you'd create your funnel. And it could be top of the funnel, it could be prospecting, could be remarketing, could be people who viewed these collection pages or did this thing, and that's who you want to serve your ads to. And you do that through audiences. So you tie your audiences to your ad sets and your campaigns. However, because of the headwinds and the friction that I mentioned previously, where it's not as easy to do that, in some cases impossible to do what you used to do, what we've been seeing lately is a bigger focus on conversions. And so what I look at a lot of what we're doing with Meta and some of our customers with custom conversions is essentially the same thing as audience lists of non-purchasers. So instead of just sending, if you have 100,000 people that purchase your products in a month, or 10,000 or 1,000, all of those people are not the same persona. You likely
Mm-hmm.
sell to multiple personas and different people, and they're going to have different needs in the future and different spending habits and household income and everything that goes into that. So so now starting to customize conversions, purchase conversions that you were sending to Meta to fit their business manager, their campaign strategy, where you can assign a conversion to a campaign and have Meta optimize against that. So now getting to the coffee brand. So this is just one example of, again, hundreds that I've seen our customers work through. Is they're like, hey, we just rolled out a new product. So they had let's just say cold brew coffee, and they're getting into protein coffee, and both are on subscription. And they're struggling with driving demand for their protein coffee, which is new. Their cold brew coffee was doing great. Different purchasers, different personas, different needs. So they came with that specific challenge of, how can we tell Meta to go find more protein purchasers? And we had to create a custom conversion for protein purchase coffee, like protein purchase. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. Protein purchasers, and let Meta optimize off of that. Now, the common question, again, this is a little bit in the weeds. You might say, well, the purchase events we're sending has the protein category in there. Why can't Meta just use that? If you're an Advantage Plus, if you're doing Advantage Plus campaigns, which is majority are doing and putting out significant amount of spend towards, you can't optimize towards a parameter on the main purchase event. It has to be a separate purchase event. So that's what I mean by the separation of the purchase event, going back to the audience funnels and how we were doing things back in the day. We're seeing a little bit of that same behavior, but now it's manifesting through your events, whether it's a purchase event or a subscription event. That's what we're seeing today, and I see that becoming a bigger and bigger move as we get into 2025. We're doing things like profits, and now sending a profit conversion, different products you're going to have different margin on. So same thing, you want to inform Meta, go after more of these high margin products and stay away from these low margin products, things of that nature. So that's what we are seeing today, and we're seeing more and more brands, especially the sophisticated ones, pick up on this.
I think it was a very good example because coffee, everyone is drinking coffee. You said there is different pockets in the audiences and
Yeah.
you want to address them with the right product within the main product. And then
Yeah.
on top of that, you not only have your conversions in your store, but you have a ton of different other apps and software solutions around that might be, I don't know, Klaviyo for email and other parts. So there's tons of different data points and sources where data is coming from. Now, doing this manually, almost impossible.
Yeah.
You're helping with that. Tell me how Elevar works in the background to optimize all of that.
Really, everything we just said is we do all of that. We work very closely with Shopify, and we have tight connections with what I'll call like the Shopify server and different APIs that make available. But that's we have two jobs to do at Elevar. Number one, send 100% of events to every platform, in this case Meta, to the destination connected. So a conversion event can be a purchase, but it can be an add to cart, it can be an email sign up or a page view. But that's our job, is to send 100% of those events to each channel. Job number two is to ensure each one of those events has a maximum amount of customer data, session data, attribution data, product data, order data, so the platform can connect that event to the user within their app. Because if we only did job number one, it would be 100% direct none, to use a Google Analytics reference. So they wouldn't be able to attribute to anyone because there's no identifiable information. So that's really where those two for us, those are the two main jobs, and that's really what we focus on maniacally, just to get those two right, because those are very two difficult problems, because that number two example is all those headwinds that we're facing, and now having to integrate with all these consent providers, and there's thousands of those, and the new laws coming out with different states in the US, and the lawsuits that are coming out with CCPA non-compliance. So it really is it's a rat's nest for a lot of our customers, and they don't want to be dealing with this stuff. They want to be strategizing and building, creating more products and selling more. So that's all that junk. That's the world that we live in.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Now, in the past, always the problem was with tracking and attribution is like everyone wanted to claim the attribution. Facebook wanted to have it, Google wanted to have it, and as a merchant, it's like, I don't really know where it's coming from. Talk me a little bit about the platform and the day-to-day work. What do I see? How does the dashboard work? What kind of data do I need to look up every day?
Yeah, great question. A common one. We're like a foundation in a house in a lot of regards, where once you set us up, you don't really, when you walk in your front door, you're not looking at your foundation. That's very similar to Elevar. You're not logging in on a daily basis. We do most of our reporting on a daily basis is just monitoring the health of your tracking. So if you are, our promise is we're sending 100% of conversions to Meta and others. If that drops to 99% or 95%, then we alert you on that. So really the day-to-day dashboarding that we provide is the health and performance of your destination tracking as a brand. All the attribution and the analysis and looking at what channels get what credit, that is in the same sandbox that we operate in, but a very different job to do, which is not one that we do. And that's where, all the different attribution companies come into play and will help with that day-to-day reporting and analysis. But a lot of the data they need to collect is the same data that we collect as well, but it's two different jobs.
Yeah. Talk me through the onboarding. How do I get started?
You can self-serve, so you can just sign up on your own, self-serve. You can, if you want to run a split test, running 2 pixels or Klaviyo accounts or Attentive accounts just to see the event difference or event quality, you can do that, or you can just switch it out. And then we also have paid onboarding as well if you want our team to handle it. And we just go through and set everything up, no matter the complexity that you have. Then it's called our done for you service, and it's a $750. And if there is more complexity like consent, it would go up from there.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me about who your perfect customer is. You mentioned that there's different pockets too. Is there specific industries or verticals that you work more with than others?
No, on the vertical side, not really. I mean, really for me, I look at, if a brand is looking to accelerate growth, they want to grow 2, 3, 4x in a year or a multi-year period. Those are the brands that they're going to need to be very focused on their data collection and their performance of their marketing budget. And typically, whether they're $1 million brand or $100 million brand, if they still want to grow, the million wants to get to 2 and 5 and 10, and the 100 wants to get to 250 and $1 billion. They both have the same wants of, okay, we need to be we need to nail our data strategy, need to nail our marketing strategy. We need to hit our ROI numbers or ROAS numbers or marketing efficiency ratio numbers. So all of those, that's the brand that usually is going to look at, okay, we don't just want to use the native email tool or review tool that Shopify offers, because there is a native email tool, but Klaviyo has 80% of the market share in Shopify because Klaviyo is just a stronger, better product for email and SMS performance than the native app that Shopify provides. So that's the same context of Elevar is, yes, you can use the native Facebook channel that Facebook owns and manages. But again, if you're looking to really grow and accelerate, that's typically where someone like us or others would come into play.
Now you're working in a very dynamic market segment. Tell me a little bit what you think is going to happen with Meta ads in the next year. What's happening there? You have good insight. Let us know.
Yeah, the custom conversions, I think just customizing the data that you're sending to Meta just to help them understand more about who you're looking for, to help them connect to go find more people like them. So that's definitely a big one. We're seeing more offline. So as brands, whether it's pop-up shops or even selling through wholesale or different markets, or maybe you have one or two retail stores, most of the time Meta's not getting that information. They're not getting those customers that are coming in store. That's also a big push that we are seeing and powering through updates and enhancements in our platform. And again, it's more just, even though that some might look at, well, Meta's taking all of our customer information, or they were giving them too much data. At the end of the day, you want to tell Meta who your customer, who your personas are, right, so they can help drive them online or drive them in store, or a combination of both, or help them you retain customers. And then obviously with AI and everything that's happening there, who knows what'll happen where we'll be a year from now with how fast AI is moving with creative. I see Meta getting much more into cutting down on that time to test new creative. I see them moving more into helping you just automate a lot of that. They might automate a lot of that creative testing for you. You give prompts. So that's an area we're indirectly involved in, not directly involved in, but I do see that as a big push next year as well.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think AI will be a bigger part on the platform than it is right now. I think the start they had was like so was like coming up for ideas for headlines, and it was like, yeah, that's not really what I want to sell. But definitely it's getting better. Now tell me, do I need to do any kind of homework before I get started with Elevar, or?
No, I mean, if you are, let's say you're a $20 million brand, you have some apps in your checkout. You might have, I mean, it could be $1 million brand or five, it doesn't really matter. But typically the larger the brand is, the more customizations and apps that they have. It could be post-purchase upsells. It could be they have custom landing pages. Maybe they have a semi-headless site, or they're using Hydrogen or some of these other new frameworks. That's where there's a little bit of like, hey, just don't unplug everything right away. If any of those ring a bell, that's where you can just reach out to our team and we can just do a quick check for you. Because the last thing we want to do is someone wants to try us out and then they unintentionally break something that we didn't know was set up, and they didn't know was set up either, and it impacts their bottom line.
Yeah, I think the bigger stores who have lots of customization, they're aware of that, and they probably have someone on their team who's responsible to keep the thing running.
You'd be surprised because there's a lot of turnover. So you think about if folks come through and they're e-com managers and they get promoted, they move to a different brand, but they were the one that installed all the apps, and there wasn't a playbook written of why they did certain things. So we actually see that quite common, where people come in, they're like, we don't know what's set up. We don't actually know why we have Elevar. What are you using us, or what are we using you for? So it's I think it's commonplace a little bit. Again, we're more in the weeds on a day-to-day basis, but yeah, I'm surprised at how often that happens. But it is one of those things with people moving around.
We can relate to that. If you have a fast-growing, quickly scaling company and getting more people on board, and no one really wants to write standard operating procedures, exactly. You might be in a situation where that happens. Tell me a little bit about your pricing structure. How does that work?
We have a free plan. So it's a free plan that's for the smaller stores, then get started. And then our paid plans go up from $150 a month and up from there. And it really just based on volume. So based on the server event volume that we're processing from the site.
Okay. Very straightforward. Cool. Before our coffee break comes to an end today, is there anything that you want to share with our listeners that we haven't covered yet?
I can tell you most of our customers, 80% of their spend is still going into Meta and Instagram for prospecting acquisition. I think that's always a question we'll get like, what are you seeing from other brands, and what are people doing? What should I be thinking about? Meta is just still the beast out there, and still top of the pyramid in terms of finding new customers. The other apps or new players out there, yes, there's time and space to test those, but they can't drive the volume, the sheer volume of opportunity that Meta can today.
No, obviously, Meta is not only Facebook, it's not only Instagram. We're talking about WhatsApp. We're talking about Threads.
Yeah,
I saw
exactly.
they're going to start with ads now. So basically, they're trying to be on every platform, and it makes perfectly sense to be on Meta. Where can
Yeah.
people go to find out more about you guys?
Yeah, just get elevar.com. That's GETELEV as in Victor, AR.com. And yeah, you can contact me, Brad at getelevar.com as well.
Excellent. I will put the links in the show notes and you're just one click away. Thanks so much, Brett. I think that was a very good overview on what's happening right now on the Meta Ads platform. And as most of our listeners are using them, I would think so, they should check you out and see if they can optimize their business with your solution. Thanks so much for your time today.
All right. Thank you.